Hello and welcome to Play Media. It is 2021 and we are back. My name is Sean Callanan. I'm here with my co-founder and co-host Chris Derrick. Welcome back, Chris.
G'day gamers, g'day Sean.
Looking forward to another season. We had a bit of a break, but we thought we'd get stuck back into it, talking all things gaming. We are your gaming growth partner. Chris, want to get started with a what caught my eye? We are currently here in Melbourne. Just recently kicked off the Australian Open, and it wouldn't be an Australian Open with a bit of Nick Kyrgios, but we also see how gaming crosses over.
I thought you were going to say it wouldn't be Australian Open without a bit of controversy, but I guess Nick Kyrgios is pretty much the same thing, isn't it?
Pretty much. But do you want to tell people? I mean, the people who are in the gaming audience would know Jacko here pictured at the tennis last night when we were recording this. But most people in the tennis world probably don't know. Well, who is the fellow with the strong mullet game at the tennis?
Yeah, look, Jacko's a streamer, a content creator here in Australia, plays different titles, but one of those is Call of Duty, and he's played it with Nick Kyrgios in the past. We talk a lot about the crossover between different athletes and streaming and gaming, and Nick is quite well known for his love of Call of Duty, so they've played together, and it looks like he's got Jacko down at the tennis last night.
Yep, and it's just it's a really good crossover for this episode. Sort of what we're talking about, how gaming and culture and popular culture have sort of crossed over. It was a perfect example. Both, a lot of gamers watching Nick Kyrgios, supporting him because they've seen him stream, seen him play Call of Duty, both with people like Jacko, AFL footballers like Mitch Robinson. So it's a really good, place to kick things off. And what caught my eye is it just happened last night. One of the things that we try to do on this show each week is explain a game. And one of the games we want to explain this week is a game that a lot of people play, a lot of athletes play. It's one of the ones that is very mainstream. FIFA 21, it is one of the ones that has really broad appeal. Chris, what's your take on FIFA 21?
Well, I mean, any of the FIFA games, it's probably the easiest game to explain that we'll ever do. It's soccer, and it's a simulation. It's made to look, feel, and play as close to the real thing as possible. So, they've got every league, every tournament, every team, every player. They've got the licensed jerseys, the brands, the logos, the player names, the player faces. It's not like International Superstar Soccer on the N64 that I used to play, where they had to change the name slightly or change the team. So, it's pretty straightforward. It's soccer.
Exactly, and the thing is that it does have that crossover appeal. Like, we do have athletes, whether they be footballers or tennis stars, playing it and playing FIFA often. And it's been really interesting to see how the football teams have both engaged FIFA as a product, as a game, whether it's playing some esports, but also fan engagement and sort of just different campaigns, even to the point, where they've done big sponsor reveals and jersey reveals in the game. So, like, there's lots of crossover. It's a real, like you said, it's a real easy game to understand because it is. It's a sports sim, and there's a few sports sims, but it's really, what EA has done as the publisher, from a licensing point of view that really opens it up. And we're talking about FIFA 21. But it has been around for many years, and each iteration with the consoles and some of the different options, it keeps getting better and better and dragging people in to be playing each title as it gets launched every year.
Yeah, and you touch on that licensing. It's not just the players and the names and the logos that are the same, but it's the brands. All the brands that support and sponsor the World Cup or the English Premier League or the A-League, they're all replicated within the game, and that's obviously beneficial to those brands, but it does bring with it some complications from a licensing point of view from EA's perspective, and there is a potential, if you've got a brand and you're thinking about doing something with FIFA, you could see some of your competitive logos in there. So it is a little bit of a tricky one, just needs to be thought through properly.
Yeah, and the thing is that, they're trying to get that, and we have to, count it every time we say it, authenticity, right? So they're trying to make it look like the stadium, but they're also building out other parts in the game that are a little bit cleaner. Their street version and different venues that are virtual venues that they're creating, that gives them a bit more of a broader canvas than, the traditional football venues that we know and love around the world.
That's it. That's it.
So one of the things we try to do in this is tackle a big question. And so now what we want to do is move on to the big question. The big question this week is really talking about what we've already been talking about. How does gaming intersect with pop culture? And it's been it's definitely been a theme in what we've been discussing, what we discuss with brands, why there's so much interest in gaming. I'll let you lead off with this quote, Chris.
Yeah, look, I mean, gaming to me, it just doesn't intersect with pop culture. It is pop culture, and that's essentially what Joe Barnes from the head of sports marketing for Bud Light in the US is saying there with that quote. You know, gaming is where culture is being set, and you know we see that with the athletes we talked about before. They're playing the games, they're streaming the games, they're partnering with esports organizations, they're investing in it. You know, we've talked a lot on this podcast about music and the interaction with gaming. We're going to talk shortly. We've talked about it before as well, movies crossing over. So, there's a real heavy crossover between gaming and other forms of entertainment. And we see that, the example earlier from Jacko being at the tennis, it's crossing over into everything more and more and more.
Yeah, and that's the thing, that it is sort of this pivot point of, whether it's athletes playing games with their fans, musicians both playing games, but then also producing content that ends up in games, using FIFA as an example before.
Yeah.
You've got artists like Anita being embedded in a
Yeah.
FIFA soundtrack and then getting visibility in different regions around the world. So it's a discovery
Yeah.
platform for
Yeah.
music, and so and gaming is the piece that is the hub that makes it all happen. We're featuring there, Ben Simmons, Australian basketball, playing for the Philadelphia
Yeah.
76ers, signed by FaZe Clan, an esports organisation, and just recently profiled by Esquire, and sort of profiling, his crib. But what a big
Yeah.
focus of it was his gaming setup. Got to have a good gaming
Yeah.
setup. Here's all my controllers. Here's how I do my streaming. That's where my dog is when I'm streaming. And it's that sort of piece on how they
Yeah.
connect with fans is super important.
Yeah, you follow Ben on Instagram, you'll see that he loves his cars, he loves his fashion, but he loves his gaming as well. And the way that he's profiled here from Esquire, you're right, they focus a lot about the gaming. But gamers are celebrities like this themselves, whether it's the leading esports players or the content creators. They're getting these same sort of profiles in magazines, the same sort of coverage. People want to know, what do they eat and drink? How do they train? How do they perform? What else are they interested in as well? So it's definitely crossing over both ways.
And the other part, I think, is the changes in content consumption from a gaming audience. The lean-in nature of Twitch, the chat nature, and then also how they're consuming different platforms. We are seeing storytellers and brands starting to lean into those platforms and leverage some of those tactics and methods. So, if you're looking
Yeah.
for how to talk to the gaming audience, it's a really good point to look at the gamers and then the people around it.
Yeah, it is obviously culturally relevant. There is a lot of cachet around being involved in gaming from a brand point of view, but we also see a lot of brands just sort of throw money at the wall and not see any return on that investment. So you got to really be careful about it, plan it out, do your measurement, make sure you're getting that return. Something that we're really focused on at Play Media.
Definitely. One of the things, moving to the next segment, after we've seen Ben Simmons customize Eston Bomber's Lamborghini, is busting myths, where we try to take something that people might have a little bit confused, or it might be something we hear often, and just debunk it a little bit, do a bit of myth busting. One of the ones that I've heard definitely is, for people coming new to the scene, is, oh, that game, that's not hot anymore, or is that game going to be around in a couple of years? Like that question on the longevity of gaming, and sort of like, oh, it's just a hot trend, or that game's just hot now.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
we're happy to debunk this, and I think it's no better way to do that with this image. Chris, how do you debunk that and talk about longevity in gaming?
Yeah, I mean, Super Mario Brothers, 35 years old, spawned multiple games, spin-offs of those games like Super Mario Kart. They've had multiple versions as well. It's had movies, it's had TV shows, there's licensed apparel, etc., etc., etc. And that's not the only one. You know, Sonic the Hedgehog, Mortal Kombat. There's lots of different games. Street Fighter. You know, I could go on and on. I think this kind of comes up more from the esports perspective, from the sporting side of things.
But we're seeing the same longevity in that space. Like when say, I got the same question when, entering the world of esports and League of Legends, going, well, will this game be around in 10 years, 20 years, knowing that traditional sport has been around for 100 years, but we are seeing that longevity. League of Legends passing 10 years, in the last 18 months. Counter-Strike, Call of Duty, they're all 10 years old. They're all building on the games year on year, and they're building out these similar universes that we're seeing in the world of movies. So they're not going anywhere. People are investing in the characters and the game, and waiting for the next release and the next patch, and it's constantly being refreshed. It's not going anywhere. Longevity is in there in those big titles.
Yeah, and there's trends involved in there. Some come and some go. Some get bigger, some get smaller. Basketball's having another renaissance now. It had one in the '90s. It kind of fell off a little bit in between, but it's back. And the games kind of come and do that a little bit as well. As they might have a different release or a different season that's bigger than the others. But overall, gaming as a whole is absolutely growing and not going anywhere. And some of these titles, whether it's on a casual player base like a Super Mario, or competitive level like a CS:GO or Counter-Strike in its original form, been around for nearly 20 years. Yep. So they're not going anywhere either.
Yeah, and it is also an extension of the different genres in the different games. So whether it's the different types of games, that's where we're seeing new ones come up and take it to the next level. So so when someone says we're not going to invest in gaming because I won't be around, again, we're happy to talk to you and dispel that myth and give you some options that you can.
Bust it. We'll bust it.
We'll definitely bust that myth. So lastly, we want to sort of tie up with a few different case studies that we've seen that we think sort of double down on this concept of gaming and intersecting with culture, or as you said, gaming is culture. One that we have discussed multiple times is what Fortnite is doing around different IP and really being open with its, Fortnite as a platform and as a way for different IP owners to be in there. In the last year, we've seen them do a whole bunch of work with Marvel and sort of opening up that scene, and it just sort of shows, I guess, where those opportunities lie.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, not just Marvel, but sort of the whole Disney universe, Star Wars in particular as well. DC Comics, a competitor of Marvel, have been in there. So it's not many other aspects or sort of entertainment properties which would match characters and IP from different IP universes, and Fortnite has successfully done that and continues to do so. There's Predators in the game now. I think we've got that there. Terminator's about to come out, so they're continuing to do more and more. They're certainly not the only ones. They've got NFL, they've got EPL. We've seen that in Rocket League. There's lots of crossover in the sports simulations like FIFA, like NBA, like we've discussed. So, the integration of brands and IP into gaming is really helps reiterate that cultural phenomenon that gaming
Definitely. I mean, when you see something like NFL team logos on Rocket League, which is, again, we've explained it, previously, cars knocking around a soccer ball, like it doesn't make sense initially when people go, why would you do that? But it's like, it's a brand extension. It's an opportunity to reach a new market. One of the ones that I wanted to finish up with is one of the ones you probably have seen in conferences and the like, is this Burger King Stevenage FC case study. And it's pretty much a case study where Burger King deliberately went and sponsored a lowly ranked Stevenage FC, primarily to get them in to get inside FIFA, knowing that with the Burger King logo on the jersey, they would be in FIFA, and then they did a whole bunch of work to activate that, get fans playing them, make it the team that they played with, and to get stacks and stacks of digital impressions and exposure. So it was a real terrific case study of how you can leverage that gaming audience to give complete uplift to something like a naming rights partner.
Yeah, really well executed, really well planned out. The cost of buying the sponsorship of Stevenage to get the logo in the game, all the activity around using streamers and other content creators to then leverage the logo in the game to create content around it, share that content, get that out there, measure all of that, and then understand what the value of that was for their brand. Really excellent campaign. Really
And the
excellent.
thing is, again, because they're playing in a space of FIFA where the licensing is already sorted, they are getting effectively these virtual endorsements from Ronaldo and Neymar because they're who the people are playing with. So it's sort of like you're getting this referred virtual ambassadorship from these top football players, even though they're not playing for Stevenage, because everyone designs their own team and those kind of things. Like it is a bit of a workaround, and really smart activation there. So if you haven't checked it out,
I'm not sure how many burgers Ronaldo eats, but probably less than me.
oh yeah, definitely less. I think we've both got him covered. That's pretty much easy. Now, one of the things that we continued to not get right. One of the things we're having troubles with.
Hey, I think we got it right in
And
that
we did
last
get it
one.
right. Was getting the outro done correctly to say how people can find us, and where you can talk to us. So first of all, there's the details. We don't want to overcomplicate it. You know us, Sean Callanan and Chris Derrick. You can Google us. Weareplaymedia.com is where you need to go. We share these kind of case studies on a weekly basis along with the program. You can subscribe both on our YouTube channel, and you can also do so at weareplaymedia.com. I think we sort of wrap that up. And this is the awkward bit where I say, we're done, Chris. Are we done?
I think we're done.
And we're done.